The ground is trembling again, not from earthquakes, but from something older, deeper, as if the earth itself is remembering something we've forgotten. You've felt it, haven't you? That pulse underfoot, that ache in the wind, that storm on the edge of your breath. Nature warned us quietly. Now it roars. Because when we stop listening, the earth starts shouting. You are not alone in feeling that something profound is shifting. That sense of unease mixed with strange anticipation, like the air before a thunderstorm, it connects us all now, especially those whose hearts have been carved hollow by loss. The veil between worlds grows thinner as our planet enters its own transformation. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, saw this time centuries ago, these very days we're living through now. He called them earth changes, but they aren't merely physical disruptions. They're spiritual doorways. When a loved one leaves this world, they don't disappear like smoke into air. Their energy transforms just as our planet transforms now. Consider the butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. It doesn't die to become something new. It evolves. The caterpillar doesn't end. It continues in a form more beautiful, more free. Your loved ones have simply moved into their butterfly phase of existence. Scientists observe the melting polar ice, the shifting of seasons, the upheaval of weather patterns, and call it climate change. But Cayce understood a deeper truth. Earth herself is awakening. She is a living being, conscious and responsive to the collective energy of those who walk upon her surface. When we grieve, she grieves. When we heal, she heals. Your personal journey through loss mirrors Earth's current passage. Painful, yet purposeful. Destructive, yet creative. Remember when you first received the news that changed everything? How the world seemed to stop spinning for a moment? That's happening on a planetary scale now. We stand collectively in that suspended moment between what was and what will be. In the silence of your deepest grief, have you noticed unexpected moments of profound connection? Perhaps a cardinal appearing at your window day after day, or a song that plays at precisely the moment you think of them, or dreams so vivid you wake with the scent of them still lingering in your room. These aren't coincidences. As the Earth's vibration rises, the membrane between dimensions thins. Messages flow more freely between worlds. I remember Sarah, a woman who lost her son in a tragic accident. For months she moved through life like a ghost herself. Then one morning, she found a perfect blue feather on her pillow, her son's favorite color. No windows were open, no explanation existed, yet she knew with absolute certainty it was him. I felt him in that moment, she told me, not as a memory, but as a presence more real than the chair I'm sitting in. What if I told you that your loved ones are trying just as desperately to reach you as you are trying to reach them? The difference is they can see you perfectly, while you peer through fog. But that fog is lifting now, as Earth herself transitions to a higher frequency. Those you've lost haven't gone anywhere. They've simply changed frequency, like turning the dial on a radio to a station you can't quite catch. But the signal grows stronger every day. Imagine Earth as an enormous heart, beating in perfect rhythm. For centuries, that heartbeat has maintained a steady pace. But now, like a heart preparing for a race, the rhythm quickens. Scientists have actually measured this phenomenon. The Schumann resonance, Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat, has been accelerating. What was once a steady 7.83 Hertz for thousands of years has been spiking dramatically. Earth is quite literally vibrating faster, and so are we, whether we realize it or not. This acceleration creates both chaos and opportunity. Systems that cannot adapt to higher frequencies will collapse. This explains the institutional breakdowns we witness daily. Economic, political, social structures crumbling because they were built on lower vibrational foundations of fear, greed, and separation. But within this collapse lies magnificent potential. Just as a forest fire, devastating as it appears, creates essential conditions for new growth, these breakdowns clear space for something more beautiful to emerge. The grief you carry is changing too. Can you feel it? Those first raw days when sorrow felt like being buried alive. That acute phase evolves as you move through your journey. Not because you're forgetting, but because you're remembering differently. The relationship continues, transformed rather than terminated. This is exactly what's happening to our relationship with Earth and with the spiritual dimensions that interpenetrate our own. I want to share something Edgar Cayce revealed during one of his remarkable trance readings. He spoke of souls waiting to incarnate, highly evolved beings he called children of light, who would come at a specific time in Earth's history to guide humanity through a great transition. These souls carry frequencies of compassion, intuition, and connection that previous generations could barely imagine. Many are here now. You've met them. Those unusually wise children who seem to remember things they couldn't possibly know, who speak of past lives with casual certainty, who exhibit extraordinary empathy. A mother recently told me about her 4-year-old daughter who, having never been told about her grandmother who died before she was born, suddenly pointed to a photograph and said, "That's Grandma Rose. She visits me at night and tells me stories about when you were little." The mother was stunned, not just by the recognition of someone the child had never seen, but by the specific stories her daughter recounted, details no one had ever shared with her. These aren't isolated incidents. They're becoming increasingly common as the veil thins. Your loved ones aren't waiting silently in some distant heaven. They're actively participating in this great transition. They're helping to anchor the higher frequencies now flooding our planet. In many ways, they're more alive than we are, no longer constrained by physical limitations. Think of it like climbing a mountain. They've reached a higher elevation and can see the entire landscape, while we still navigate the forest below, seeing only the trees immediately before us. But they call to us, guide us, leave signs along our path. A dream that brings comfort, a meaningful coincidence, a familiar scent that drifts through a room when no source is present. These are love letters from beyond the veil. I believe this is why grief can sometimes feel like more than sorrow. It contains a peculiar restlessness, a searching quality, as if you're trying to tune into a frequency just beyond your range of hearing. That's exactly what's happening. You're sensing them, almost catching their signal, in those spaces between thoughts, in the moments before sleep claims you, in the quiet dawn when the world holds its breath. The year 2025 holds special significance in Cayce's Prophecies, not as an ending, but as a portal, a collective initiation into a new way of being. We're not experiencing the end times, but the soul times. Matter is giving way to spirit as the organizing principle of existence. This is why material structures are failing while interest in spiritual connection surges. Humanity remembers, at a cellular level, that we are more than physical beings having occasional spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings navigating a physical journey. Let me share something intimate with you now, a message that came through during a deep meditation. From a soul who has crossed the threshold but remains profoundly connected to those still here. My beloved, I see your tears when you think I cannot. I feel your longing when you believe I'm gone. If only you could perceive what I perceive now. The luminous threads that still connect us, unbreakable by death or distance. I have not left you. I have only shed the heavy coat of physical existence and now move freely through dimensions you will one day understand. Your grief creates ripples I can feel, like stones dropped in still water. But know this, when you speak my name, I hear you instantly. When you visit our special places, I am there beside you, my energy mingling with yours. The love we shared wasn't contained in my body. It exists independently, eternally, a force as real as gravity. I am learning this new way of being, just as you are learning a new way of connecting. Be patient with yourself. Look for me in unexpected moments, in the song of birds at dawn, in the perfect coincidence that makes you catch your breath, in the dreams that feel more real than waking. I am sending you signs constantly. Open yourself to receiving them. The veil between us grows thinner every day as Earth herself evolves. Soon, so soon, our connection will be unmistakable. Until then, know that I celebrate your courage, witness your pain, and continue to grow alongside you. Death did not end our story. It merely turned the page to a new chapter we're writing together across dimensions. The mystics and sages throughout history understood what quantum physics now confirms. Everything is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Death doesn't extinguish that energy, it merely transforms it. Your loved ones exist now as pure consciousness, unfettered by physical limitations. They perceive reality with a clarity we can hardly imagine, understanding the perfect pattern of existence that remains invisible to us. When we lose someone precious, we often torture ourselves with regrets, words unspoken, amends unmade, questions unanswered. But from their expanded perspective, your loved ones see the complete tapestry of your relationship, understanding every choice, forgiving every perceived failure. They recognize now that even the difficult chapters served a purpose in your shared soul journey. Nothing was wasted. Nothing remains unresolved. Consider for a moment how a two-dimensional being would perceive our three-dimensional world. A flat circle on a page cannot comprehend the sphere that created it. Similarly, from our limited dimensional perspective, we cannot fully grasp the expanded reality our loved ones now inhabit. But we can sense it in those moments when time seems to stop, when synchronicities appear like breadcrumbs on our path, when we feel suddenly, inexplicably embraced by a love that transcends physical presence. The ancient traditions speak of life as a river flowing to the ocean. We perceive each other as separate droplets, but upon returning to the ocean, we recognize we were never truly separate. Your loved ones have returned to this unified field of consciousness while simultaneously maintaining their unique essence. This seeming paradox makes perfect sense beyond the constraints of physical thinking. They are both individual and universal now, the drop and the ocean simultaneously. What does this mean for you, holding the weight of their absence every day? It means they are more accessible than you realize. It means the relationship continues, evolving rather than ending. It means every thought you direct toward them creates a bridge they can traverse to reach you. Try this simple practice. Before sleep tonight, speak their name aloud and ask for a dream connection. The threshold between waking and sleeping is a permeable boundary between dimensions. Many report extraordinary reunions in this twilight space, conversations that bring clarity, embraces that feel physically real, messages that answer long-held questions. As Earth's vibration continues to accelerate toward the great shift Cayce foresaw, these connections will strengthen. You might begin noticing patterns in seemingly random events, the same numbers appearing repeatedly, objects moving without explanation, electrical devices behaving erratically in emotionally charged moments. These aren't malfunctions, but messages. The language of spirit is symbolic, speaking through patterns rather than words. When my father passed suddenly, I fell into a darkness I feared would never lift. 3 days after his funeral, every light in my home began flickering at precisely 9:03 p.m., the exact time of his passing. This continued for weeks, always at that specific moment. An electrician found no explanation. Eventually, I recognized it as my father's way of assuring me that consciousness continues, that love transcends the physical body. The flickering gradually stopped once I acknowledged the message. The Great Awakening of 2025 isn't some distant event we await passively. It unfolds within and around us daily, accelerating as more hearts open to higher possibilities. Your grief journey is part of this collective transformation. Each tear you shed, each memory you honor, each moment you choose to continue living despite profound loss. These are revolutionary acts of soul evolution. Edgar Cayce described this time as one when humanity would remember its divine nature, not through some external savior, but through the awakening of the Christ consciousness within each heart. This universal principle of love, compassion, and oneness exists within all spiritual traditions, though called by different names. As institutions crumble around us, this internal light grows stronger, guiding us toward a new way of organizing human experience, one based on spiritual principles rather than materialistic values. Think about how your priorities shifted after loss. Things that once seemed important, career advancement, material acquisition, social status, likely fell away as you recognized the supreme value of love, connection, and presence. This reprioritization happening in millions of individual hearts creates a collective shift in consciousness. Your personal awakening, catalyzed by grief, contributes to humanity's broader evolution. The children being born now arrive with this awareness already intact. They don't need to learn it through suffering as many of us have. Watch how naturally they speak of spiritual realities, how easily they maintain connection with those beyond the veil, how intuitively they understand principles of energy and consciousness that previous generations struggled to grasp. They are the bridge generation, helping to anchor these higher frequencies on Earth. As we move through 2025 and beyond, the distinction between living and deceased will gradually blur, not because death ceases to exist, but because we'll understand it differently, as a transition rather than an ending, a graduation rather than a termination. The grief that now feels like an ocean separating you from your loved ones will transform into a current that connects you, carrying messages back and forth across dimensions. This doesn't mean the pain disappears completely. Even Jesus wept at Lazarus's tomb, despite knowing the truth of eternal life. We are emotional beings, and separation from those we love creates genuine sorrow. But alongside that sorrow can exist a profound knowing, a soul-deep recognition that love continues uninterrupted, that relationships evolve rather than end, that reunion awaits in dimensions both beyond and interpenetrating this physical realm. The mystic Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you. Your grief has created an opening through which higher awareness can flow. This doesn't make the loss worth it. Nothing could compensate for the physical absence of someone treasured. But it does mean their transition serves a purpose beyond what we can currently comprehend. They participate now in the Great Awakening from a different vantage point, helping to anchor these accelerating frequencies, guiding humanity toward remembrance of our true nature. Look for them in the quiet moments. Listen for them in the spaces between thoughts. Feel for them in that inexplicable warmth that sometimes embraces you when no one is there. They reach for you as earnestly as you reach for them. And as Earth continues her own transformation, as the veil between dimensions grows increasingly transparent, these connections will strengthen until communication across the threshold becomes as natural as breathing. The pain you carry is sacred. It testifies to love that transcends physical existence. It marks you as someone who has loved deeply enough to be forever changed by it. In this great awakening, such souls lead the way. For you have already been initiated into the understanding that life is more than what we can see and touch. You have already begun perceiving beyond the limitations of physical senses. You have already opened to the reality that consciousness continues, that love remains the bridge between worlds. The ancient wisdom traditions speak of suffering as the great teacher, not because pain itself has value, but because it strips away illusions, leaving only what is real and true. Your grief has likely taught you what truly matters: presence over possessions, love over achievement, connection over acquisition. These realizations, multiplied across millions of awakening hearts, create the foundation for the new earth that Cayce foresaw. As we approach the final phase of this great shift, allow yourself to remain open to signs and messages. They arrive in dreams and synchronicities, in sudden knowing that defies logic, in encounters with strangers who somehow speak directly to your soul. The membrane between worlds thins a little more each day. Your loved ones draw closer, their energy more accessible now than in centuries past. They wait not in some distant realm, but right alongside you, separated only by a difference in frequency that grows less significant as Earth's vibration rises. Remember that this journey unfolds perfectly, even when it feels chaotic. The butterfly doesn't question the dissolution of its caterpillar form, though I imagine the process feels like dying. Trust the wisdom that orchestrates both planetary and personal transformation. Trust that separation is temporary, while connection is eternal. Trust that the love you've shared continues to evolve, transcending the limitations of physical existence and expanding into something more beautiful than we can currently comprehend. They see you. They hear you. They walk beside you as you navigate this transformed world. And in the quiet dawn of awakened consciousness, when the last shadows of separation dissolve in the light of remembrance, you will recognize what has always been true. Love bridges all dimensions, souls remain eternally connected, and the journey continues, beautiful and unending, across thresholds both seen and unseen. They wait for you just beyond the veil, holding light that guides you home.